Welcome everyone to another Lunch and Learn in our ongoing Financial Friday series. Sainies is excited to offer these sessions in cooperation with our corporate partner, Equitable Advisors. Equitable has a long-standing presence in New York, and a large portion of Equitable's New York client base is built upon the work they do within the public education system. Through Equitable, Sainies members can receive competitive insurance rates and a full array of retirement services, including a complimentary financial profile for Sainies members, which we urge you to take advantage of because it's a great benefit. Our Equitable presenter today is Emmy Fries. Before we get started, please note that participants are muted during the session, but we will have some question and answer time following the presentation. If you have a question, just type it in the Q&A panel or in the chat box, and we'll take care of those at the end of the session. We're also recording this session, and it'll be available at sainies.org early next week. With that, I'll turn the presentation over to Emmy.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. Today, we're talking about financial strategies one-on-one, which is actually one of my favorite topics to share as it applies to everybody. I'm going to share my screen now, and we are going to get started. Financial strategies is a pretty intense subject, and everybody has something slightly different going on in their life. So we're going to do a general overview today on making the most of your money. And then afterwards, if you have questions, please feel free to put time on my calendar. As Annika said before, you get a complimentary meeting with me as a Sainies member. Before we get to the fun part, I do want to make sure that you read this disclosure. It says that this is simply an educational seminar and we are not giving legal or tax advice today. And as a reminder, whenever we're talking about finances, different things are suitable for different people in different situations. So what we're going over today is general, and we should talk one-on-one about your specific situation before you make leaps towards any huge financial goals. Today's presentation is going to cover the advantages of smart financial management, overcoming obstacles, financial management components, as well as how you as individuals can get started. Let's start with some smart financial management advantages. A financial program is simply a map or a game plan. It's the process of prioritizing the allocation of cash resources to help you achieve your goals and dreams for the future. And managing your finances begins as early as with your first paycheck. Some money is automatically going to be withheld or deducted from pay for taxes, whether it's Social Security, state taxes, or Medicare. Some of what's left over is going to have to go towards your needs, your mortgages, your groceries, other bills. And then we also want to make sure that we can live a fun life. You need to be able to go out to dinner once in a while, buy a gift for a child. But in order to be financially stable as we grow older, we need to be smart with any money that is left over after that. So I want everyone to think, how many people know 100% that they are on track for paying for a child's education, for retirement, for buying a house, for paying off debt? And if you don't feel that you have a strong financial game plan, we want to start today creating a roadmap. There's a lot of advantages of creating a game plan. It keeps you focused, it helps you run on a track, and it helps coordinate your goals. Many people don't realize that a child's education and saving for retirement can go hand in hand, but when we put it all under one umbrella and focus on it as one task rather than 20 different financial tasks, it helps us organize and it helps us stay focused. Now, some obstacles to financial success. The first main obstacle is expectations, but no plan. You can improve your financial future simply by identifying a goal and then developing and implementing a program for reaching that goal. It's not as easy as it seems sometimes, and I know it's easy for me to say, just make a financial plan when that's what I do for a living, but you're not on your own. Start by picking out a goal, and then we can create a plan to reach that goal. The other major obstacle to financial success is the kiss of debt. And when I'm talking about the kiss of debt, I'm not talking about a mortgage. I'm talking about consumer debt, that painless plastic that comes with using a credit card. Having too much credit card debt plays a major role in your ability to save. Quickly, charges and pileups can happen on credit cards. As an example, for a credit card balance of $30,000 at a 12% interest rate, it would take you 92 payments if you were just to do a minimum payment of $50 a month on that card. That's the equivalent of almost 8 years of payment. And the interest alone you are paying on something like that is $1,558. Often, credit cards have a much higher interest rate than other forms of debt. There's a lot of different ways we can pay down credit card debt, whether it's stop using credit cards, paying off the highest credit card first, consolidating debt. So don't feel if you have credit card debt that things are hopeless. We just need to talk through some strategies. Inflation is also a huge obstacle to financial success. And this was actually the obstacle that I struggled to get through before I got into finance. I was saving for a house. I couldn't figure out why I was saving all this money every single year. And yet I still couldn't seem to compete in the market. And it was because the cost of housing kept inflating year after year. Inflation can erode the purchasing power of your dollars because prices are simply going to go up, even though your income and your savings may not. $1 in 1913 had the same buying power as about $30 in 2022. Inflation is always going to happen. Some years it'll be worse than others, but we need to plan for it so that it doesn't become an obstacle to our financial success. And then the last major obstacle that we see when it comes to someone's financial success is procrastination, putting off making the plan and implementing the plan till tomorrow. We heard this a lot over the holidays. Oh, I can do it after the holidays. And now we're hearing, oh, I can do it after I get my year started. There's always going to be a reason not to create a financial game plan. But if you prioritize this and you do all the hard work in the next month or next few weeks, then things will become easier moving forward and you won't have to procrastinate on something this important any longer. Procrastination can also cause you to lose out on what we call the time value of money. So the time value of money is good for you when you're investing, the way it's bad for credit card debt. So let's look at this example. At the age of 25, if someone consistently put away $180 a month, $189 a month until they were 65 years old, their total contribution to, let's say, this retirement account would be $90,905 over that 40-year time period. But hypothetically, at a 7% growth rate, this person would have an account that was worth $500,000. That's because of the time value of money. This hypothetical 25-year-old has 40 years for their money to make money on itself. Now let's look at the other extreme in this hypothetical example. Say someone started at 50. Now, instead of putting away $189 a month, they're putting away $1,568 a month, which over the next 15 years would require them to save $282,299 in order to reach that total value of $500,000. Now, this person is still making $217,000 off of their money. That's not too shabby, but it's not the same as the person who started earlier. It is never too late to start saving for a goal, but the second you identify you have a goal, we should start investing and start saving. So how do we get started? The first thing we need to do is assess your current situation. Do you keep a budget? How is that budget tracked? Do you have a retirement plan? What do your investments look like? Are you managing risk? Do you have insurance to cover yourself if something was to happen? Are you saving in a tax-advantaged way or in a way that will allow you to still live your lifestyle even if taxes go up? And do you have an estate plan? Is there a way to pass your wealth on to the next generation that isn't going to cause a tax issue for them? You need to get a handle of all of these different things so that we make sure that we reach our goals in the long term. These 6 points need to be part of everyone's financial plan. And just to reiterate, those 6 points are having a budget, having a retirement plan, having sound investments, having the correct insurance for your specific situation, understanding what is going to happen tax-wise, and having a way to pass on our wealth. I want to take a moment to talk about the 3-bucket approach to planning for financial success. And the 3 buckets involve short-term goals, mid-term goals, and long-term goals. Begin by making a list of your financial priorities for the next few years. Then rank your priorities by how important they are to you and list the time frame where you want to accomplish them. The time frame is what is important because this is going to tell you what bucket these goals go into, and it's going to help you create a financial roadmap. For example, if you want to go on a dream vacation in 10 years and you want to be able to spend $10,000 on just yourself for that dream vacation, that would go in the midterm bucket. That is a midterm goal. But on the other hand, if you want to retire at the age of 60 and you're currently 30, well, that would be a long-term goal. Next, we need to determine what funds will be needed to reach these different objectives over the selected time frame. I'm going to give you an example of short-term, midterm, and long-term goals based on actually one of my close clients. Every single person in their short-term goals needs to have an emergency reserve, and the emergency reserve will be slightly different from family to family, but everyone should have that there. And then this client also had life and disability insurance as part of their short-term goals to make sure that if something happened to them, their family would be protected. Then there's ongoing goals. This client wanted to buy a house in the next 7 years. That's still a pretty long time horizon, but it's certainly not going to be her living in a retirement home. This is a starter house that she is thinking about. And an ongoing goal that we had for this client was also college education for her 3-year-old daughter. It seems like it's a really long time to the age of 18 when you have a 3-year-old, but in the terms of investing, that's more of a midterm goal than a long-term goal. And then long-term goals could be things like retirement or planning for long-term care in your old age. When I sit down and make financial plans with people, there are 2 major issues that usually come up. The first is that they've always been putting off long-term goals until tomorrow, and that's a problem because of the time value of money. And then the other issue I often see is there's someone who really has their long-term goals nailed down and they're great in the short term, but they've never even thought about having the midterm bucket. The midterm bucket is important because it protects you when life happens. I want to shift a bit to risk management because this is something that people rarely talk about, but it's really the cornerstone to a sound financial program. You need to protect yourself from risks because they will derail you from achieving your goals along the way. And risk management means protecting your finances against unexpected future events. And in financial terms, this often means insurance. There's a few different kinds of insurance. The first is property, casualty, and liability protection. Everyone on this call, if you have a car that you're driving on the road, needs to have car insurance. We know that. If you own a home, make sure you have homeowners insurance. There's other types of liability insurance that might be important to your specific situation as well. Then there's health insurance. Gaps in health insurance can be a huge problem for people if they get sick or injured while they are underinsured. And health insurance really requires two different kinds of planning. The first is, what health insurance do I have today? And what kind of health insurance will I have if I was to lose my job or retire? And the last type of insurance is life, disability, and long-term care insurance. And we're actually going to go through that one a little bit more detailed today because there's a lot of misunderstandings about it and how to go about getting the correct kind of life, disability, and long-term care insurance. Let's first start with life insurance. When we talk about life insurance, there are two different sides to the same coin. There is term life insurance and permanent life insurance. Term life insurance is a temporary form of insurance, so it expires after 5, 10, 20 years. Usually when people have term life insurance, it is to cover a temporary debt or a temporary responsibility. Often parents have term life insurance that will expire when their children become adults. People will have term life insurance because they have a mortgage and they want to make sure that if they were to pass away, whoever inherits the house could immediately pay off the mortgage. Permanent life insurance, so long as it is well funded, will last you your entire life. Permanent life insurance can also be used as an investment vehicle. And I bring that up because recently I was talking to a client who really wanted permanent life insurance because of something he saw on TikTok. I have used permanent life insurance as an investment vehicle for people in the past. It can be awesome. It is not suitable for everyone. So if that is something you are interested in, we should talk about it. Taking financial advice from TikTok, that is a slippery slope, and I do not recommend you do it. Then we have disability insurance, and disability insurance also falls into two different buckets. There's short-term disability and long-term disability. I would like everyone here today to look at their district's benefits and determine if short-term or long-term disability is part of your benefits package. Often people think they are completely covered for disability because their employer gives them disability insurance. But short-term and long-term disability insurance are two very different things, and we want to make sure that you are covered for what you believe you are covered for. Then the last type of insurance we're going to talk about today is long-term care insurance. This would be if you became elderly and wanted to go into a nursing home or have in-home care, different things like that. Long-term care insurance becomes more and more important as we age, and it is extremely more affordable when we get up when we're younger. Often people go out and they start looking at insurance on their own, and it becomes very overwhelming very quickly because A, there are so many different types of insurance out there, and B, it can start to feel very expensive. So I want everyone to be aware that there is something called an insurance rider. For example, say you feel you need life insurance and long-term care insurance. Sometimes it is suitable to buy life insurance with a long-term care insurance rider. I want to transfer away from risk management for the moment and go more into investment strategies. So the definition of an investment is taking a measured degree of risk with money in pursuit of higher returns over a long period of time. And risk and returns are the main words that we need to pay attention to here. Everybody has a different risk tolerance, and that risk tolerance is based on a few different things. The first is just, how do I feel about experiencing ups and downs to my investments? The reality is you worked very, very hard for your money. And if you're laying awake at night worried about your investments, that's no good. That's not what you worked hard for. You worked hard so that eventually you could use that money and so that you could sleep soundly at night. So first, we ask ourselves, how do I feel about seeing the values go up and down? And then my job is, okay, this is how the person feels about risk. What's their timeline? What is suitable for their specific situation? And all of that together becomes our risk tolerance. What I would ask everyone on this call to think about and ponder a bit is simply, are they risk adverse, risk tolerant, or risk taker? Typically, the more risk, the more potential reward. But like I said before, you can't be laying awake at night worried about what's going on with your investments. Once you decide, am I risk adverse, risk tolerant, or a risk taker, then you come to someone like me or one of my colleagues and you talk that through with them. And from those three different words, we take a lot of other data and come up with your overall risk tolerance. Here's our fun risk and reward pyramid. As you can see, the high risk things like options are at the top of the pyramid, whereas low risk things like government bonds are at the bottom. Often people need a mix of different types of investments, but how heavily weighted you are in each type is important in order to have financial success. Also, you need to be aware of your time horizon. Someone could be off the charts risky. I know people who are off the charts risky, and I'm willing to let them do that in certain investments and certain long-term goals. But when someone wants to buy a house 3 years from now, you might be off the charts risky in how you feel about risk. But as far as your timeline and your goal goes, we might need to put you a little bit closer to the middle of the pyramid. Managing investment risks. The first thing we need is a diverse portfolio. We cannot put all of our eggs in one basket. What we often see when we evaluate someone's portfolio is that they are in funds that are heavily weighted in certain companies simply because those companies are so large. But the reality is, in many ways, they're putting all their eggs in one basket, even if it is a company like Amazon or Google, which is huge. That's not a diverse portfolio. People also need a balance of different types of investments, whether it's stocks, bonds, or cash. We have to make sure that our asset allocation is properly balanced. Asset allocation is where I see people become more and more stressed out the more I talk about it. Because beyond just the three main asset classes that come with typical investing, they all have subclasses, and you can go down the rabbit hole really, really quick. What I want from educators or from anyone not in the financial field is to simply learn the basics of asset allocation so they can feel empowered in making their own financial decisions. But when it comes to the details, please ask for help. You are not in this alone. I would be a horrible school administrator, so I'm in finance. You don't need to be an awesome financial professional because you're awesome at what you do. Do not go at the asset allocation alone because it gets very complicated very quickly. And the last thing I would encourage everyone here to do is learn about dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging means that we are putting money into the market at set intervals, so possibly every paycheck or every month. The reality is the market is going to go up and it's going to go down. And we want to make sure that we're not always buying when the market is up simply because we had a couple extra dollars to throw into the market at that time. We want to consistently buy so that we catch the market when it's down as well as when it's up, and we have an average. When we're investing, we also want to be careful of our tax liability. And different ways to reduce tax liability could be through municipal bonds, tax deferred annuities, using life insurance, or qualified retirement plans. IRAs and Roth IRAs are individual plans you can go out and get on your own. And then below that, we see things like 401ks and 403bs. These are group retirement plans, things that you need to be employed by a specific employer to have access to. Now, I have an example of someone saving into a group retirement plan. And as you can see, by deferring taxes, they make much more money over a long period of time. That's that bright blue line that you're seeing there. That dark blue line would be a tax deferred annuity where they paid taxes up front, they invested it, didn't have to pay capital gains along the way, and then had to pay taxes at the end. Now, I want to get a little bit more into the tax advantages of retirement accounts. There are two different kinds of retirement accounts. The first are pre-tax accounts. These would be accounts where money comes out of your paycheck income tax-free. The money grows tax deferred, and then when you retire, you pay taxes on that money. The reverse of that is a Roth, and with a Roth account, you pay your income tax up front, the money still grows tax deferred, and then when you retire, you don't owe taxes on that money because you've already paid your taxes. People who have just pre-tax or just Roth accounts will pay about the same amount in taxes over their lifetime. Where someone really wins is when they have both accounts when they retire, because then they can leverage the tax code in their favor and choose when to pull from which bucket during retirement. Now, your New York State pension and Social Security have small cost of living increases over time, but they do not keep up with inflation. So where you're going to live on your New York State pension and then Social Security during the early years of retirement, we want to make sure we have those hefty 401ks, 403bs, IRAs to make up for the lack of cost of living increase over time. And that's when our retirement accounts come into play. Usually you won't pull from your retirement accounts the first year of retirement, simply because that's when your pension has its strongest buying power. This is another hypothetical when it comes to saving early and saving often. I know I'm repeating myself, but start today. The best time to invest was 5 years ago. The second best time to invest is today. The longer we wait, the less time our money has to make money off of itself. And then our last subject today is going to be estate planning. Estate planning is just a plan that addresses who, when, and how your assets are distributed, and it puts the power in your hands. The reality is, if you don't choose how your estate will be distributed, then the government will. And that's where a will comes into play. We want to make sure that things are in the correct trust so that we don't have huge tax liabilities, that we know where our children are going, and that we name the appropriate heirs to the assets that we worked so hard to gain over our lifetime. Now, I know I covered a ton of different things today, and I went quickly because it's a half hour to cover a huge topic, but please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. We are here to support you. And as we said at the beginning, it's no cost to meet with us. My email, phone number, as well as a QR code that gives you a direct link to my calendar are up on the screen right now. And I will also make sure to reach out to everyone on this webinar in the next couple of days in case you have any other questions. Thank you so much for your time today. We always love talking with Zanies members. You are one of the best groups of people to talk to when it comes to finances.
Thanks very much, Emmy. It looks like we don't have any questions at this time, but if you do have any questions, any more questions, you can go to the Zanies website to contact your local Equitable representative with any questions you may have in the future. Thanks again, Emmy, and have a great weekend, everyone.